Hi, this is Michael, and this is my review of the Grosche ultra-fine mesh pour-over. And I use this every day, sometimes a couple times a day, and this just makes the most wonderful coffee. And one of the reasons it makes wonderful coffee is because if you use fresh ground beans, that is really going to enhance the quality cup of coffee that you can get using this. Now this has a micro mesh screen here. It's very, very fine. The holes are so small you can almost not really see them. It's really a very, very fine mesh screen. And then it has this platform here that sits on top of your coffee cup. Now the platform is, let's see, I got my tape measure right here. This will have a diameter of about 4 inches. So your coffee cup has to be slightly less than 4 inches, and this will fit right on top of it. Now this platform also unscrews, and I'm not really sure why it unscrews, but it does unscrew, and maybe that's so you can use this in something else other than a coffee cup. I'm not really sure, but in any case it does unscrew. That's actually a mixed blessing, and when I'm going to sort of jump ahead here for a moment since I'm talking about the platform. Once I've made my coffee, I usually put my coffee grounds into a compost bin. And so I turn it upside down and I hit it on the inside of the bucket that we have for our compost. And what I found is over time this gets bent. So it's really kind of fragile here. So you want to make sure that you don't manhandle this because it will bend. So I've consequently changed the way I get the coffee grounds out of here. Now I just tap it on the top like this, and bending problem solved. Now this is stainless steel. You might think that it gets really hot after you're pouring the hot water through here, but actually you can grab it by this little tab here, and it's not that hot at all. So how do we make coffee using a pour-over? Well, like I said, I like to use fresh ground beans. I have a high-quality burr grinder here, and you don't have to have as good a burr grinder as I have, but that is really the best way to make the best coffee. And so I'm just going to grind the amount of beans that I need, and it's not going to take too long here because all I need is about 3 tablespoons. The rule of thumb for me is I use 2 tablespoons of coffee per 6-ounce cup because I like my coffee strong, and that's the amount that I use. Now you can adjust that amount by taste or your own preference. So I'm going to make a larger cup of coffee here. This is way more than 6 ounces. It's more like 12 ounces or 10 ounces anyway, and I'm going to use 3 tablespoons for that. So this is a 2 tablespoon measure, so I'm just going to dip in here and get my ground coffee. I want you to see the grind that I use. You want to use a sort of a medium to coarse grind. Not quite as coarse as you'd use for a French press, but definitely want to use a little bit more coarse than just medium. So there's my 3 tablespoons, and you don't have to use an expensive burr grinder either. You could get this type of manual burr grinder that works quite well as well. Now the next thing you want to do is get some just off boiling water, and I just heard this stop boiling a little while ago, so it's ready to go. First thing you want to do is pour just a little bit of water in here into these grounds, and just a little bit to get them wet, and then you let it sit for about 30 seconds, and that's called letting the coffee bloom. Freshly ground coffee is going to release carbon dioxide once water hits it. So you want that to just bloom, get that carbon dioxide out of there, and then after about 30 seconds you can continue pouring. Now the secret with using a pour-over is that you want to just very slowly pour water, and you just basically want to have the grounds floating in a small amount of water, but you don't want to pour the entire cup's worth of water in all at once. This has to be a gradual process, and it should actually take about 2 to 2.5 minutes. If you find that it's going through too fast, that means your grounds are too coarse. And if you find that it's not going through fast enough, that probably means that your coffee is ground way too fine. So if you have it just right, it's going to take just about 2 to 2.5 minutes. You know, it depends how large of a cup of coffee you're brewing or whatever. But you can see I'm having pretty good luck here. The water's going through. I'm just slowly keeping pretty much a steady amount of water floating those grounds. It's only about 1/3 of the way filled. And you just keep doing that, and it takes a little while. If you think it's too tedious to do it this way, then probably you shouldn't be using a pour-over, because this is part of the fun of using a pour-over, and maybe you should try a French press instead. Once this drains through and you can tell that there's no more water, really, you've just got grounds left, then you can just take this off, tip it a little bit, let the water continue dripping out until it stops, and then we're basically done. So I'm just going to get this out of the way. I have a wonderfully fresh cup of coffee now, and cleanup on this is very easy. Like I said, I just tip it upside down and tap it into my compost bin. As far as washing it, you can throw it in the dishwasher. You can also hand wash it. You have to be very gentle though, because this is a fine mesh and it can dent, and conceivably it could probably tear if it were to get stuck on a knife prong or a fork prong or something like that. You can also use a Cafiza. Ernex Cafiza is a powder that you add to water, and it's very adept at dissolving the oils from coffee beans. That's another way that you can clean this. In any case, it works really great. I like it a lot. It makes just an excellent cup of coffee. And if you have any questions, leave me a comment. I'll answer it if I can. Otherwise, thanks for watching and have a great day.